Good evening. This is Lexi Cooper on Nightly News Today. There have been a number of events in Venezuela. Here's footage from Marina's interview with Olaf, a journalist from Venezuela.
Olaf, so you've been in Venezuela since the beginning of these outbreaks, correct?
I arrived March 27th when I deciphered secret messages from a crossword puzzle in a Venezuelan newspaper.
See when you arrived in Venezuela.
A march being led by a Venezuelan congresswoman and Air Force generals being arrested.
Bloody scene?
The army was quick to suppress any and every uprising, which occurred 4 days later in San Cristobal with student protesters.
How did the army handle this incident?
Terribly, they fought back even against the peaceful protests. They used tear gas and killed a total of 39 people. Hold on, I'm gonna take a phone call. Hello? Yeah, I got poop.
Footage Olaf recorded on his phone of the incident on March 31st. You can see things were clearly violent. Olaf, did things mellow out after this?
No, not at all. The government claimed that there were terrorist attacks from the protesters on trolleybus stations, but this is kind of hard to believe because they're still running.
Smells fishy. How did Maduro handle this?
Not good at all. He had a meeting with the opposition, but it accomplished nothing.
Tú eres estúpido.
Tú eres feo.
Tú eres muy feo.
Tú eres no mustachio.
¿Qué?
Silencio.
No me gusta tú.
So, Olaf, you think the government is the bad guy in this situation?
Well, they did try to help in some cases.
How so?
Well, the government started to crush bikes and abandon cars in order to provide raw materials for building houses. What happened to my team, Mom?
So do you see the government as the victims or the people?
Well, there's no doubt that the government has caused a lot of trouble, but I think both sides are in the wrong.
What do you mean?
Rioters have contributed to the 41 deaths with their out-of-control behavior in their riots.
So whose side would you take?
I would have to pick the protesters. Despite their outrageous behavior, the government does need to change.
What do you think the future of Venezuela looks like?
I predict the riots will continue until Maduro has stepped down and the government has changed.
Thank you so much, Olaf. That concludes our interview.
Now here's a clip of Marina interviewing Oswald Gryffindor, another journalist from Venezuela.
Good evening, Mrs. Gryffindor. So, as a journalist during these protests, you've probably witnessed many people die, correct?
Yes, 31 people have died and 461 have been injured.
A lot of people. So these riots must be pretty serious?
Yes, it was the biggest threat to Maduro's presidency since he was elected last year.
Some of the most violent things you've witnessed in Venezuela.
Now, 39 people have died. There was actually this one guy, and he was in his house, and he made a homemade bomb, and he just went off, and he killed himself. It was so sad. I have a video if you want to see it.
Let's take a look at this video. Oh, that was violent. So how is Maduro's relationship with the U.S. during all of this?
Well, actually, Maduro has accused the U.S. of supporting all the revolts over there so that we can gain access to their oil, which I think isn't true, but whatever.
Oh, that's not good to have the U.S. as an enemy.
I know Maduro has been making some really bad decisions.
I agree, he's really pushing his limits.
Yes, now he won't even allow a trial for those accused in the protest.
Outrageous!
And both sides even agreed to a truth commission, but the government just won't budge.
Oh, and Obama sat down to talk about the accusations?
They actually have, but Maduro's lying straight through his teeth, and Obama doesn't even seem to notice.
What do you mean?
Well, Maduro says he wants peaceful negotiations, but then he goes back to Venezuela and he orders all his police officers and all them, he orders them to go and attack all the peaceful protesters who are mostly unarmed. So it's not fair, if you ask me.
Are all the
Protesters unarmed?
Actually, no. A police officer about a week later, he was shot and killed by a sniper. I guess the students are just getting fed up with the government and becoming a lot more violent.
Oh, that's horrifying. What do you think will happen during the next couple months in Venezuela?
Well, if the government doesn't start listening to the students, I think eventually a civil war will break out. Thank goodness I left when I did.
Alright, as many people know, legalizing marijuana has become a big deal. In Uruguay, there's actually a so-called weed revolution. Let's go to Brian's clip of his interview with Cinnamon Spice, a journalist in Uruguay.
Good evening, Cinnamon. How are you?
Good.
I can tell you're in the Uruguayan spirit.
Yes, I am.
Oh, how did this whole thing start?
Well, the Uruguayan prez, Jose Mujica, wanted marijuana to be regulated into the economy, but the law wasn't passed, so they imported the marijuana from Canada.
Eh?
Yeah, Senator Lucia Topolansky is apparently a fan of Canadian marijuana.
Interesting. Well, I know medical marijuana is used as treatment in other countries. Is it similar in Uruguay?
Well, from what I understand, they're using it in prisons to treat people addicted to hardcore drugs, such as cocaine, because it takes away their anxiety.
Because marijuana is believed to be beneficial.
Yes, Mujica thinks it will reduce the crime rate and eliminate drug trafficking.
So,
It will only be allowed to be grown in large amounts that will be guarded by the military, and you have to register through a specific system that is run by an institute.
an ordinary person be able to buy and grow it?
As long as you're registered, it was declared on May 1st that you can buy up to 10 grams a week.
So, have you seen people already taking advantage of the revolution?
There's a video of a reporter who actually started smoking while in an interview with the president.
This video, but let's take a look at some Uruguayans making some adjustments to the soon-to-be passed law. It would be interesting to see how life is once the law is passed for complete sale of marijuana and the ability to grow. What do you think? What do you see for the future?
I think it will actually slow drug trafficking. However, it is still a drug and it's a very dangerous one, so I think society might become a little stupid.
Interesting point. Thank you for your time. This concludes this interview.
Very important that we are aware of things happening in Spanish-speaking countries because their culture and history may be ours one day too.
That's all for today. Thank you for listening to NBC Nightly News.